Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, life coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Dr. Adeel Khan. Dr. Khan and I are going to be talking on the topic, Revitalizing Life, the power of gene therapy in regenerative medicine. Welcome, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being on the show and sharing, this new information with me and my listeners. All right, guys, so let me give you guys a brief introduction. Dr. Adeel Khan completed his MD from the University of Ottawa in Canada. After training in sports medicine, he specialized in regenerative medicine, conducting one of the first Health Canada-approved clinical trials with stem cells. He is known internationally for treating many high-profile celebrities and athletes. Driven by his passion to improve health, he co-founded Exalt and is the Chief Scientific Officer of Science and Humans. Love that. He's also the Chief Medical Officer for MiniCircle, the world's first reversible gene therapy. All right, now I love this. So Dr. Khan, as we start off, I understand that you're an expert in lifestyle medicine, helping people to understand the basics: sleep, exercise, stress management, and nutrition. So how did you get into this line of work? Can you share your backstory? And we're also fellow Canadians, so love that.
Yeah, and as part of the Canadian medical system, it was very traditional in terms of teaching about drugs and obviously treating disease. But because I was kind of a fitness junkie before I went into medicine, I was just always fascinated about prevention. And so I quickly realized that, hey, we're learning about all these chronic diseases, but what's actually the root cause? And so it turns out the majority of chronic diseases are related to lifestyle behaviors. And so this goes from high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, diabetes, dementia, cancer. Those are all the big ones. And they all relate. We know now more than ever that this really relates to how you conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis, meaning what do you put in your body? How do you deal with stress? How do you sleep? What's your exercise routine? Do you have community and support? Do you have good networks for mental health? And do you have a purpose and meaning? And all these other things that are actually the real foundation of health are not really talked about enough. And I think there is a lot of information there now. There's almost too much information with health gurus and all that stuff. But now the problem is really quality of information, which is the bigger issue, is that there's a lot of people out there talking about this stuff, but a lot of them cherry pick stuff and they don't really know the science behind all this. And because I've been obsessed with this since I was 18, basically, I've kind of gone through the whole kind of roundabout way of learning about what's the right side, the wrong side, and everything in between. And so that gives me a unique perspective. So I think I understand the lifestyle stuff very well, and I can explain and simplify it in a way where people understand that these are the basics and don't get confused that you have to master this stuff first before going on to the most advanced stuff. Now, I think the big thing I'd like people to understand is that you can't do a lot of the lifestyle stuff if you're in chronic pain, or if you're tired, or if your hormones are imbalanced, or if you're stressed all the time. So telling a single mom who's stressed and has all these things going on and telling her to work out more and eat better isn't going to help anyone. And so that's the fitness industry does. They make people feel guilty when they can't stick to certain behaviors. So that's why we have this company called Exalt, which is basically delivering one-on-one health coaching at a fraction of the price as you normally get it, to make it more accessible using AI and a dashboard and all that stuff. But aside from that, I think people often feel bad about behavior change. And I think having a healthy relationship with food and body and learning how to do that is probably the foundation of delivering and developing these good habits.
That's amazing. Now, yeah, we all know about sleep and exercise and stress management and nutrition, but you threw another one in there, purpose. That is amazing. Now, before we go on to the good stuff, I want to zoom in on there. So you find that because that's what I do, this is what this show is about. So you find in the science that if you're just like like a tree that's swaying and you don't have any roots, you don't have any purpose, you don't have any connection, that actually affects your health?
That is goes without saying. You have to be. I love the. I actually use the tree analogy myself a lot. I love tree analogies because people can understand.
Yeah,
What a lot of people are looking at just at the leaves, and but they're not looking at the roots. And so, what's
right.
the foundation of why you're doing this in the first place, and why are you here? What's your greater purpose? What's your mission? And figuring out and identifying those is going to give you not only resolve in difficult circumstances, but it's actually better for your health. How do we know that? Because when people retire and they have nothing to do, it turns out their health deteriorates very quickly and
It's
they have a
true.
shorter lifespan and they tend to die within the first 5 to 10 years of retiring.
Oh
So
my gosh,
it's
that is so
so
true.
I think yeah, so
Yes.
I think that and plus I think just from a fundamental level, like a very basic level, you can understand that hey, if there's a reason to get up in the morning, you're gonna have your mind and your body is connected. You're gonna have that purpose and meaning, and that's gonna send signals to your body that's gonna help with immunity and help with resiliency. And that stress resiliency is really, I think, one of the biggest problems nowadays, especially with the younger generation, mine including millennials, but Gen Z is probably worse, is that they're like little marshmallows in that if they get squished, they don't know how to bounce back up. They just get squished. They don't,
Yes.
and so they're not like a spring, where you have to be able to bounce and have that resiliency.
Yes, that's amazing. I'm glad that I got you to talk on that, because most people miss that. I got that a long time ago. Even what I do now, it took me a while to build my podcast. And while I was building it, right, I kept saying, like, why am I doing it? There's no income, whatever. And then the first thing I said, well, it's my purpose. If I stop doing it, you know what I mean? I
Exactly.
have no, it's my purpose. It's so I do it regardless. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And, my dad is 82. Can you believe it? And he's still teaching. And I'm worried about when he stops teaching, if he's gonna have that rapid
No,
decline.
he should stay as long as possible. I think that's the best thing for his health. I think
Yes. And he's
now, and
extremely
obviously,
healthy.
yeah, and what we're going to talk about on the podcast is that now with the new field of longevity, we have interventions that we can extend the careers of pro athletes, of people. We can reduce biological age, and we have all these technologies now that can really make a big difference on the aging process.
Yes, that's awesome. Let's get into it. All right. So let's first talking about gene therapy, which is your specialist. How do you help your clients to improve the quality of their life and health? You just said that, with proprietary gene therapy and interventional procedures.
Yeah, so it's a mouthful, but the
I know
gist
it
of it
is.
is gene therapy is pretty simple to understand. It's just basically introducing a foreign DNA into your body. Now, that sounds scary, but we've obviously gene therapy has been around for over 20 years, like almost 30 years. Uh, Originally, the field started out with something called viral vectors. But when you use a virus to introduce a gene into your body, it has a risk of translocating into your genome, meaning it can alter your genetics and it may have off-site targets, and viruses can even cause infection and obviously there has been case reports of people having bad outcomes because of that. And so the viral gene therapy field never really took off. It definitely got in somewhere, and there are some rare diseases that are treated, but someone had to figure out a better way, and the scientists I work with figured it out. And so they figured out how to use what's called a plasmid. Now, a plasmid is of bacterial origin, but a plasmid is just, think of it like exchanging cards. Like if I'm giving you a card, I'm giving you my business information, and you're giving me your card, you're giving me your business information. That's us, like, well, that's what plasmids do. They exchange information. And so the cool thing about plasmids is just a circular strand of DNA. And so hence the name mini circle, because it's a mini circle when you look at it under a microscope. And so essentially the mini circle is a plasmid vector that can transfect any peptide or protein in your body, meaning we can target any gene in the body that we want to increase production of or decrease production of. So there's really cool specific targets that we can do without any offsite targets. And the cool thing about plasmids, unlike viruses, they're not going to go into your genome. So there's zero chance of altering your genetics in that way. Well, there's just a local area where we inject it. That's the only site where the transformation occurs. And the other thing about this technology, it's the world's first reversible gene therapy. So what that means is that for whatever reason you want it out of your body, you just take an antibiotic called tetracycline, and it's a kill
Oh,
switch. So
wow.
meaning it'll get it out of your body.
Amazing.
So we've never
Huh.
had anyone who wants it out of their body, but except for testing, which we're going to be publishing on how the kill switch works. But basically, the gist of it is that it can last in your body for 1.5 to 2 years with one injection. And so you don't have to keep injecting yourself with whatever protein or peptide that we're targeting. So peptides are a hot topic because I don't know, many of your audience has probably heard about Ozempic or Mounjaro, which is
I'm
like
in
the way.
Monjera right now, so I know it.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, and why are you on it? It's a peptide. It's a peptide that helps to decrease
Yeah.
appetite. It improves insulin sensitivity.
Yes.
It helps with fat loss, weight loss.
Yes.
Now, the problem with peptides, as you know, is you have to inject yourself every week, or some
Right.
peptides are even shorter half-life. You have to inject yourself every day. So this peptide delivery mechanism is one injection and it lasts for 1.5 to 2 years. So this is just our first product. It's called follistatin. And follistatin is a peptide that's been around for over 20 years. But because it has a short half-life, no one could figure out how to actually utilize it. So because of the gene therapy, it basically tells your body to increase production of follistatin for this time frame of about 2 years. And so follistatin, what it does is it decreases systemic inflammation, it increases energy, it increases strength, and it also amazingly decreases intrinsic biological age. Now, biological age is how old are your body at a cellular level. So essentially, how old are your cells? So you might be 50, but your cells could be 60 or 70, or your cells could be 40. So we can measure that now. And so we've shown that the follistatin gene therapy significantly decreases intrinsic biological age with one injection, anywhere, if you're over 60, anywhere from like 12 years to up to, like, some people are hyper responders up to like 30 years. So literally we have people who biologically are 30 years younger. And I've even had patients who said they feel like they're 18 again, which is
Wow.
crazy to think with one injection. And the beauty of it
Wow.
is it's very safe because, like we said, it's a plasmid. And the
Mhm.
technology is a breakthrough technology because it's a unique technology to deliver any protein or peptide. So it's really revolutionizing the whole gene therapy field. So there's going to be a lot of tests on it. And that's why, obviously, I'm working with a lot of high people, like we're talking, like Tony Robbins. And there's reason these people are seeking me out is because we have something that kind of everyone wants.
Wow. That is amazing. Yes, Tony Robbins is really big on his energy. I listen to him all the time, and of course, I mean, he's also one of the founders of Fountain Life. I was telling you before we started recording, that's in Naples. And yeah, as you were mentioning, they're all diagnostics. They've got these, yeah, amazing preventative scans and blood tests and things that they can do to help you predict, if you're going to have diseases, even like for 20 years or so. So what you were telling me is that they're doing the preventative, but you're actually doing the real work to actually interrupt and prolong longevity. So that's amazing. And the fact that you're using it,
Exactly.
peptides, yes,
Yeah.
peptides are big. Peptides, yes. I mean, I don't know where they came out from, but they're coming with a bang. I even put it on my face.
Well, insulin.
Some other product.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We have a peptide cream, like copper peptide for cosmetics. So there's so many applications. So we have a whole pipeline of products coming out that are going to be targeting different peptides. So we'll have different gene therapy peptides, and we'll have one for weight loss as well. Because same thing with weight loss, we can technically put Mounjaro in a gene therapy form too. So then you can do one injection, and then you don't have to keep injecting
Every
yourself.
year and a
So
half. That's
yeah,
amazing.
exactly. And then there's a kill switch. So say you hit your targeted weight, then you just take the antibiotic, and then it's out of your body. So
Uh,
there's a lot of
that was going to be
interesting
my question. Why do you need a kill switch? Because if you're saying that what you don't want to have energy anymore, or you don't want
Yeah,
to,
exactly. Like
why did you
why would
put that
anyone use
kill switch in?
it was just as a precaution. Also because it allows people to be in control of their body. They can
Right.
choose
Okay.
to want to get it out for whatever reason. But yeah, everyone who does the therapy wants it done again because they feel
Well, I
better
mean, like,
because you have
why
more
would you?
vitality. Yeah,
Longevity, vitality, anti-inflammatory, which is really big because yes, I'm not the doctor here, but I know that 100% of all of the diseases that you started off talking about, they're all caused by inflammation. So if you can get the anti-inflammation thing going, that's amazing. Wow. So now, what is the difference between regenerative medicine and stem cells? Because I think
Yeah,
stem cells, it's administered, it's a totally different thing, right? It comes
yeah,
from
and it's kind of
the
become like a
placenta,
buzzword. It's kind of become a
right?
buzzword, and I think the problem with stem cells in general is that the word itself doesn't mean much because there's so many different types of stem cells. So it's like, what are you really talking about when you're using the word stem cell? And there's a lot of predatory marketing of like companies in the US and offshore and Mexico and other places. So you have to be careful where you go. And that's why I'm trying to educate people on it, because I'm trying to tell them, hey, if the clinic is offering stem cells, that doesn't necessarily mean they're offering true stem cells. So I'll explain what that means. But basically, if you just take your stem cells from your own body, from your fat or your bone marrow, those aren't true stem cells. They're called progenitor cells, committed progenitor cells, meaning they can differentiate into certain types of tissue, but they can't turn into all types of tissue. And not only that, they don't have a true ability to grow new tissue. They're really just anti-inflammatory like molecules or signals. And so what we really want, if we want a true stem cell, we have to isolate it. We have to isolate what's called the mesenchymal stem cell, as we were saying, and you have to isolate that from the actual tissue. So it could be from umbilical cord tissue, it could be from fat, it could be from placenta, it could even be from dental pulp. There's so many different sources of mesenchymal stem cells in your body. Well, it's just a fancy word for saying that something that has some sort of scaffolding and regenerative effect. And so the technical word is mesenchymal stromal cells, but stem cells is the word that everyone uses now. So that's just what we call it. But the gist of it is that we can isolate them and then we can grow them. That means culture and expansion. So growing the stem cells is very important because then you get a therapeutic dose. But the problem is in the US, you're not allowed to do that clinically unless you're doing a clinical
No,
trial. But there's a lot
right.
of clinics saying they're offering stem cells, but they're not offering true stem cells. You can Google stem
Yeah,
cell
I heard.
clinics in Florida, and there's probably 100 of them. But
Yeah, I know.
but they're
I
not
mean,
true stem cells.
because
They're not true stem
right.
cells.
Yeah, I was looking for
And
it for
that's
my
why I work.
husband because
Yeah.
yeah, my husband had back surgery, and they were saying that instead of going through back surgery, that you can do stem cells, and people were talking about how the stem cell regenerated their body, and yeah, Tony Robbins too was talking about it. But when I looked, it's not legal in the U.S. You have to go. I don't know about Canada, but most people go to Mexico. But yes, but I wasn't aware they were taking your own stem
Exactly.
cells. I thought they were giving you the umbilical cord stem cells, right? But anyway, go ahead.
No, in the US, umbilical cord stem cells are illegal. So there
Yes.
are clinics offering them, obviously under the radar, but you have to be careful because then you don't know the quality you're necessarily getting. And so I personally prefer to do it in regions where it's approved, where so I can do it in Mexico, in Dubai, I do it in Japan too, and because these places have been doing stem cells for like 9, 10 years, and so they have processes, they have manufacturing innovation, and we can get good quality. And I work with my manufacturer to make sure we get the good quality stem cells. But
Okay.
to answer your question about regenerative medicine, that's just an umbrella term for basically tissue engineering, cell therapy, and gene therapy. And it's all those things combined that's allowing us to kind of go into the next generation of medicine. What we like to call medicine 4.0, which is basically using customized
Wow, you're at
gene edited
4.0
cell
already,
therapy
huh?
for
Dr. Atia was talking
yeah,
about 3.0. Now you're at 4.0.
yeah, he's talking about stuff that we knew from 10 years ago. So that it's fine. He's raising awareness about it, but he's
Yeah.
talking about stuff that the fitness industry has been talking about for 10 years, which is
Okay.
muscle is the organ of longevity. And
Yes. Yes.
I've been and so I've known that since I was 25, 10 years ago. And like it's basically something because I'm from the fitness world. And because
Right.
when you're from the fitness world, you already know because the fitness people are always the ones who are early adopters. They tend to
Right.
experiment more, they tend to do more of that stuff. And so they've known about this for health and longevity. Exercise is the most important thing. We know about that for a long time. And so I think what he's doing is great, but now it's time to move on to the medicine 4.0, which is
Nice.
basically that using cell and gene therapy for longevity and to slow down aging and to fight chronic disease.
Wow. That's amazing. I did not know that this was on the horizon. Thank you for sharing it and bringing the awareness to the world. That's amazing. Now, yes, you talk about, you started off with fitness and you help, your bio says that you help world-class athletes, perform. So can you share a story of where you helped, or even if, whether you did it personally or of, an athlete that we would all recognize that used this kind of therapy to get them back on the field?
Yeah, I don't think I could say his name necessarily because it's confidential, but he
Okay.
is one of the top 5 in the U.S. player, American football player, and so he had an injury for his knee and his ankle, and yeah, and then we use exosomes and stem cells to repair it, and basically he's performing at the highest level in the NFL, and he's one of the top players, and he's able to play without having to get surgery or without having to take downtime. I also treated like NFL quarterbacks who had like elbow injuries that had tears in their elbow, and then normally those are only fixed with surgery, and we're able to fix it using stem cells. And again, he's top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Can't say
Oh,
name, but the idea is that these are top athletes in the world, and obviously they're
okay.
the best at what they do. They make a lot of money, and their careers are so. There's a reason why these athletes are coming to us. It's because they're not dumb. They educate themselves, and the problem is when they go to their team doctor is typically an orthopedic surgeon, which are great. Like they're great at cutting. They're great at surgery. That's their job. But they don't know what we do. And they shouldn't because it's not their expertise. And so our expertise is interventional, meaning injections using cell therapy and gene therapy and all that other stuff. They obviously don't know about that, so they don't always know what options are out there. So they just recommend surgery for everything, or physio, or cortisone, just the traditional stuff. But we have all the non-traditional stuff because it's a bit more innovative. However, there is more awareness about it now, especially with social media, obviously. So I think more and more people are starting to realize, hey, maybe surgery is not my only option, or maybe cortisone and physiotherapy are not my only option.
Yeah. I can think of one person that I heard that didn't do surgery. Um, and that's what's his name now? I'm gonna lose it, but he had a problem with his neck. Who am I talking about here? Getting old. I lost his name. But anyway, he came back and won the Super Bowl after. Why can't I remember his name?
Was it Peyton Manning?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He yeah, he actually
That was not even on my radar. But yeah, didn't he have a problem with his neck? And they
yeah.
counted him out, and then he went and got some kind of therapy. And you can't, operate on your neck. So I'm almost sure he had some
Yeah,
kind of
he
infection.
had I know what he had because the doctor who treated him is my mentor actually. His name's
Okay.
Dr. Gallia. He was a pioneer of the plasma injections. So he
Mhm.
had PRP done with Dr. Gallia and he fixed his neck.
Yes, so that's
Yeah.
great. So that's perfect. Now, you also said that you have a picture on social media with Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins came to you for help, and you can talk about that. So go ahead. And what was the issue with Tony Robbins, and how did you help him?
Yeah, so he has his main issue was with his shoulder,
Yeah.
which is still bothering him quite a bit. And the issue was that he had stem cells done in Panama or Costa Rica or something. But the problem with those doctors, again, they're not necessarily the best interventional doctors. They don't know how to inject the right spots, and so it's not just about the right injectate. It's also about precision. And so that's what we're really good at. We're really precise. Like I have my ultrasound technologists are arguably some of the best in the world because they're very well trained and they know how to find the right spots so we can direct the
Mhm.
injection into the right area. So we helped him with his shoulder, and we're going to do probably one more treatment for him. And then we also did the follow-statin gene therapy for him, as we were talking about, to help him with energy, to help him with anti-aging, because he's on stage
I
still
know.
so much, and he's going
Yeah.
crazy. He claps like
Yeah.
crazy. He jumps up and down like crazy.
Yeah.
He yells like a madman, and so
Yeah.
he's putting a beating on his body, and people don't realize how much wear and tear it takes on his body. And so I'm obviously trying to help him reverse that a little bit, and that's why he's doing all these anti-aging stuff. But the follow-statin is something that's unique that it hopefully will have a big difference on his the aging process for him. So I'm excited to see the results. We just did it a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
but we're gonna keep everyone posted, and he's gonna do some content for us. So it'll be great to share with the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yes, he talks about the eye. I mean, I can't even imagine it. That he is 14-hour days jumping up on stage. He's the only person on stage, and he's got to keep everyone high energy, and they're jumping up. And yeah, and he's doing all these things. He's doing cryogenics, which is the cold bath, and yeah, he talked about his
Yeah.
shoulder with the stem cells. So yeah, that's pretty good to share that the stem cell wasn't a permanent solution. It was just we're off or something because it
It
wasn't
wasn't
done.
done the right. It wasn't done the right way. Yeah, and
Right.
that's the key about all this. The technique,
Mhm.
the type of stem cells, the quality, the doctor who's doing it. You need to really research them. And my advice is don't go to a doctor who isn't doing active research in stem cells, because you have to be a scientist and you have to be a clinician to really understand this field. And I do both, but I'm not. I'm also very lucky because I have a lot of very bright scientists around me, and I get to learn from them. And I'm usually the dumbest in the room, so I enjoy that, and so I get to learn from
Yeah.
them, and it's great.
Yeah. So that's really great. So one of the things that you mentioned is that you help your clients to empower their body's natural healing abilities. So take us through, like when you inject this peptide, um, is it turning on maybe your stem cell genes or something? If
Yeah,
it's a natural healing ability, then your body is healing itself. How does that work, and how do you do
yeah.
that?
So if you get a tendon tear or a muscle tear, or if you have osteoarthritis, why do some people who have those structural damage have no pain, and why do people who have that structural damage have so much pain? So that's always been the question, and now we kind of understand why. It comes down to immune dysfunction, which comes down to chronic inflammation, which comes down to like gut health and your thymus gland. And so it all comes back to the immune system, which is regulated by those two things. And so if we can reprogram your immune system to be stronger and to deal with these issues, then you can heal yourself. And because chronic inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, oxidative stress, what's called mitochondrial dysfunction, there's all these things that happen at a cellular level that prevent your body from healing. And so if we can restore the cell function, we can allow your body to heal naturally. And that's what these treatments are trying to do. So follistatin, for example, reduces systemic inflammation. And by doing that, it's saying to your body, hey, let's put out the fire a little bit so your body can try to heal itself. And with stem cells, it's principle. It's saying, hey, let's send a signal to your body to say, let's start repairing this tissue. Stem cells are just like construction workers. They're working around. They're trying to build material. They try to help build a scaffold. They try to put the pieces together, but they can only do so much. If the environment itself is not set up for success, then you're not going to heal. And that's why I think the lifestyle stuff to optimize your body is so important. And we try to do that as much as we can, because if your body is in such an inflammatory state, or if it's not in a state to receive the stem cells, then the stem cells won't survive and they can't do what they need to. And
Mhm.
that's the hottest topic of research right now, is what's called cell viability. It's like, how do we make the stem cells survive so that they can regrow and they can actually do what they need to? And so there are some unique approaches that we're using. It's called gene editing. So you can gene edit the
Mhm.
cells so that they can hide from your immune system. It's called cloaking. And then they can also be embedded in what's called a hydrogel scaffold. So they're embedded in this kind of like jello-like substance, and then they're protected from your immune system, so they don't get cleared up as fast, and then they can work and do more of their goodness. So there's all these cool techniques that are being developed now that are allowing us for the second generation of stem cells, because the first generation of stem cells is good, but it's not great. And that's why the second generation of stem cells is way more exciting for me personally, because they have so much better cell viability.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, something popped into my head a minute ago while you were talking. So you in Canada, does OHIP cover any of this stuff? I know it's not covered in the United
No,
States.
I've had a few I've had a few phone calls with the Minister of Health and Doug Ford, who's our premier, and they don't even know what this stuff is, and I'm trying to meet with the federal minister to try to push this forward a bit, and I'm actually meeting with the military this week because we're also doing some PTSD treatments, and we're trying to push this stuff forward as much as we can, because there's a lot of people suffering who need help, and they
Yeah.
can't not everyone can afford it, because these
Oh,
treatments are expensive, because the
yes.
technology is relatively new, and there's just a high cost to manufacture and all that stuff. But
Right.
as with any technology, the cost will come down. If you remember, plasma TVs, in early 2000s used to cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and now you can get them for a couple $100. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that with any
Or look at
technology,
cell phones. Look at cell phones. Look
yeah,
at
exactly, yeah.
anything.
Anything,
That's,
exactly. So cell and gene therapy is the same. Cell and gene therapy is about bioprocessing, which means manufacturing, and the manufacturing is becoming better and better every year, meaning the quality is retained, if not better, and it's cheaper to produce, and that cheaper to and there's gonna be more competition. Right now, there's not that many people doing it. So as there's more competition, the price will come down too, and as demand goes up. So it's just natural economics. So I think in 10 years from now, 5 to 10 years, this stuff will be very, very affordable, and you'll see everyone talking about selling gene therapy and stuff.
And hopefully the insurance companies will start to cover it.
Exactly, and that's the goal, and that's why we're doing clinical trials in the hopes that insurance companies will cover it eventually.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so this is good stuff. This is good information for anyone, whether you're past 65, 50, or even 40, you want to, you're interested in longevity. And you have the money. This information is good. So tell our listeners how they can connect with you. If you said you're in social media, your social media handles, your website.
Yeah. So my company is called Eterna, like eternal without an L. So just health. And we are doing actually a longevity event in Austin, Texas, February 24th. So I'd love to see you there if you're free, and anyone who wants to come. The tickets are on sale now. We have some well-known speakers in the space like Ben Greenfield, Dave Asprey, Tom Bilyeu speaking about mindset, and we have a lot of good scientists coming as well, and talking about the gene therapy, talking about gut health, and talking about the fitness and longevity. So we have all the world's different experts coming in and talking. So it's gonna be a really cool event, and I'd love to promote that a bit. And also for education, I do use my Instagram mainly. It's at dr.akhan, Khan. And then TikTok is also becoming popular, and my TikTok is the Regen Doc. And surprisingly, we get lots of patients from there, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But it's the world we live in.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And what's your website?
Eterna.health.
Okay. Oh, Eterna.health is the website. All right. I thought that was the name of the company, but it's the name of the company. It's also the website.
Yes. Eterna is the company, and the website's eterna.health. Yeah.
Health. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that is amazing. So thank you very much, Dr. Khan, for this spirited, passionate conversation regarding your work. I can see that you're very passionate. You said you've been doing it, since you're 18, you're passionate about it. So that's amazing. You dropped some really good nuggets on regenerative health and getting proper stem cells and using these peptides for longevity. I'm definitely gonna send this interview to my dad, so maybe he can get some.
Yeah, for sure. We can. I always like people to try it for their family or themselves, because
Yeah,
once they experience it, then they're kind of like, oh, this is what it's all about. And
yeah,
so I think a lot of times for me, the big thing is prevention. Like one day, I'd love to see this stuff covered by insurance and allow everyone to access it.
yeah. So of course, they would have to get around and obviously you're aware of Dr. Atia's book. Yeah. So basically, he was saying that the insurance company don't want to own the client until they're diseased, which is stupid, because if they own the client for preventative, then they will spend much less money. So they'll get I think that
Exactly.
they'll get
Imagine, yeah, and that's my dream, is that you go to your family doctor, you get these gene therapies, you get intravenous stem cells, you do all these anti-aging treatments, and it'll prevent disease. It will save so much
yes,
money, but
yes.
but they don't see it that way, and I think it's going to take a decade or two to change it, but it's going to happen in our
Wow.
lifetime, I think. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Hopefully
Yeah.
it happens in mine too.
No, yeah, we'll keep you around with the anti-aging stuff.
Yeah, that's great. All right, guys. Well, listen, Dr. Khan, it was a pleasure for me talking to you. I love all the nuggets that you expanded our consciousness and our minds on today. But longevity, yes, yeah, it's not just about eating and sleeping and nutrition and exercise and all those good things, which you say it's the foundation. But after you do that, maybe you still need a little bit more help, right? And this is where this regenerative medicine comes in. So, all right, guys. So head
Yeah.
over to the show page if you didn't, and I will have a transcript of my conversation with Dr. Khan. The show page is blog.myhelps.us. I would also link out to his website and his Instagram handle and TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I will definitely still link out to that. And we'll follow him On Instagram. You guys are all on Instagram, so that you can get any advice that he can help you for free. And of course, if you want to tag him to become one of his patients, then the website is eterna.health. And of course, I'll link out to it. So Dr. Khan, this was amazing. Thank you so much for your passion, for your energy. Are you taking the treatments? You're very energized.
I am. Yeah, I am. Of course. I'm actually 65. Yeah, but
That's funny.
uh,
Yes,
yeah.
and you already told us your age. You're 35.
Yeah, I know. But it's just the anti-aging stuff is great. No, yeah, it gave me a huge boost of energy, and yeah, it allows me to perform at the highest level, which is what it's all about for me.
Yes, of course. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind, Transform Your Life, Transform Your Health, Transform Longevity. We're trying to do a transformation here. And I bring you quality guests like Dr. Khan every week so that you can help you live your best life now. If you're listening to this on iTunes, we'd love for you to review and rate and subscribe. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to press that subscribe button as well, so you can be notified of our new shows every week. Thanks again, Dr. Khan. Any last words before we wrap up?
No, that's it. We just want to redefine the aging process, and I hope it gets people excited about it.
Yes, yes, they're all excited. Of course, they're going to tap into your energy and mind. Thanks again. All right, guys. Until next time, namaste.